Become experts on the game.
So fragile.
It was a marketing thing.
Seemed like he was also pretty good at.
But we're not using him for marketing.
Moving the ball like.
He's a good free kick.
He was. Good at like getting the ball midfield and seeing that open guy.
He was a good player. He was a very good player.
Yeah.
ASP,
I understand he's way past his prime. And now it's like even if he was good, he's so fragile.
Call for 6. Call for 6. Yeah. And Brian Townsend with Queen Jack.
3,300.
He's going to pushing it up.
Yeah, he's going to buy himself the button with that raise and take control of his pot.
3,003.
He's also got rid of Phil Ivey. Just leaves Patrik Antonius. Is he going to call to try and catch a set? There's your answer.
Now, of course, the problem with calling a raise against an aggressive player like this, even if you hit your 6, you might not win a big pot.
No, it's just possible.
Exactly. Because Brian Townsend doesn't necessarily have to have a big hand. And here's an example. And this is actually a monster. Brian Townsend has top pair. Patrik Antonius has a set. How much money is Brian Townsend really going to lose with just Queen Jack here? And you can look at the percentages. 98% for Patrik Antonius.
$8,000
bet for Brian Townsend. We've already seen that Brian Townsend will bet his marginal hands.
But what they allow on TV.
But can he get away from his marginal hands?
TV is a lot more liberal in
it's going to be
Europe.
Unusual. Interesting to see how Patrik decides to play this. Does he just call the 8? Or does he go for the throat and raise it up?
Yeah, it can be difficult sometimes when you're out of position.
Well, here you can't say bloody, but
cold.
It looks like he calls this.
And in Europe,
pot is about $23,000 to the turn.
Wait till you go to Germany.
King of Hearts.
They have after like 5.
Doesn't really change anything.
Really?
Brian Townsend can't beat King Queen, but he couldn't beat King Queen before the King came.
Okay.
Patrik Antonius is really using Brian Townsend's aggressive nature against him. He's checked it. And he's going to let Townsend bet again.
The bet's $20,000.
Yeah, 2-1.
Pot is now $43,000.
2002, right?
20,000 to Patrik. Patrik, the Iceman.
Yeah, but you were down 1-0, and then they ejected a Brazilian player.
No, we were ahead 1-0.
You were ahead 1-0, and they ejected a
Phil Ivey.
They just squashed you.
An interested onlooker.
Really, really sad.
I think it was 1-1 when the guy got sent off, but it could have been 1-0.
Yeah, the fellow who scored the goal got sent off.
Yeah, it was already.
Is he going to check raise here? Just the time to check raise right now.
Well, if he does check raise, I think that king could have killed his action. Yeah, it's going to be very easy for Brian to give him kings and queens.
20,000's gold.
He just calls. I think that's probably his best chance of getting on in this pot once that king's come down.
5.
And how do you play the river, though? Out of position. Almost hoping for a queen or a jack to come. Well, that's not it. That's a 4 diamonds. One more hand that Patrik could have there. Brian Townsend could put him on 7-8. Pot is $63,000. Patrik Antonius trying to decide how to play this. He's going to check it. And Brian Townsend does like to value bet his marginal holdings.
It's going to be interesting to see whether he can sniff out his behind hit. Looks like he's still reaching for the black chips.
Brian Townsend, I really haven't seen more than 1 speed. I've seen 1 speed and 1 speed only. And he looks like he has a lot of money there. Looks like he has 2 black chips, I want to say. And those black chips are $25,000. If you want to be a successful poker player, you have to have more than 1 speed. Let's see how he does this.
Looks like only 1 black chip.
You're right. It's 1 black chip, but a lot of red chips. And it's a $40,000 bet. $40,000 bet into a $63,000 pot. The pot's $103,000, And at this point, if you're Patrik Antonius, do you raise? Or do you put maybe, are you scared of queens or kings? $103,000 pot. $40,000 to Antonius.
There's really only one hand he can get a call from here that he's in front, and that'd be Queen King. I can't imagine him re-raising this one.
Brian Townsend was the pre-flop raiser. He could have pocket queens, he could have pocket kings. And you're probably right. Nothing else would call a raise.
Phil Ivey watching on intently. For once, he's not the one getting beaten up in the pot. It's his fellow big loser, Brian Townsend.
And at this point, does Brian Townsend even want to call? You can feel the tension.
Do I have cards from
Patrik Antonius is not going to fold here. I'm pretty sure of that. Just deciding whether he should raise, whether there's any value to the raise.
Yeah. I'll bring him 6.
Looks like he's counting out a number of black chips in this pot. That looks like a raise.
Yeah, it's a big raise.
150,000.
He makes it $150,000.
I think Brian Townsend's just realised his hand's no good.
I was wondering if Brian Townsend actually wanted a call. He certainly didn't want that. And
Where is it exactly?
the pot is $250,000, $110,000 to call. Brian definitely not happy to see the raise there on the river.
He's reaching for his chips.
Wow, is he really going to call this? What hand can he beat? What hand would Antonius call the flop with, the turn with, and then raise the river with that he can beat?
What has he convinced himself that his opponent's got?
You wonder. He can't beat 7-8. And look at that. He calls. Oh, I cannot believe it. We have the biggest pot at the $1 Million Cash Game. $363,000. Unbelievable. $363,000.
Masterfully played. I don't know if I'd have tried to go for the value re-raise on the end. I just couldn't imagine that Brian Townsend would call with a hand like that. He has, and more power to Patrik Antonius' arm. He's just won an absolute monster.
And off to a leaderboard. After 276 hands, we didn't think it would happen, but we have a new leader. Patrik Antonius is up over $280,000. Tony G not at the table anymore. He's in the bar, but he's only up over a little over $260,000. Brian Townsend now down over $250,000, and Phil Ivey, of course, down $363,000. But Phil Ivey, he's going to fight